Good evening from Bangkok Suvarnabhumi Airport. I just arrived from Saigon on a Vietnam Airlines 787, and now I have around 6 hours to blissfully kill in one of the 22 available lounges here. The flight that I came in on wasn't on the same ticket, so with just carry-on baggage and an electronic Etihad boarding pass on my phone already, I was hoping to be able to just breeze through transit security instead of entering Thailand. And indeed, that was the case. This terminal is absolutely massive. The distance between the two farthest apart gates is around 1.1 miles or 1.8 kilometers. As I get my bearings and choose a lounge, let me welcome any of you that are new to the channel. My name is Kevin and I am the Flip Flop Traveler. I think that the internet needs a whole lot more honesty when it comes to airline and hotel content, and that's why I'm here. I make trip reports and high-end hotel reviews, and I always self-fund my trips. In fact, you'll always be able to find the exact price that I paid in the description below. I don't alert any companies that I'll be filming because I want as normal of an experience as possible. So, in this video today, I'm going to give you nothing more than my own personal, honest, and unbiased opinion, based on my own experience. Okay, so I'm going to head to the Turkish Airlines lounge today, accessed with Priority Pass. The lounge that Etihad contracts out here in Bangkok is the Miracle Lounge, which looked overcrowded as ever, so I skipped it. If you'd like to see inside that lounge, you can get the full tour on my Thai Smile trip report, linked above and in the description. My other two go-to lounges here in Bangkok are the Air France Lounge and the Oman Air Lounge. Air France for the views and Oman Air for the food. As we look around the Turkish lounge, let's talk about where I'm going. So Etihad brought back the A380s this year, initially flying them just to London, but they have just recently announced that they're going to be bringing them to New York as well, which is an exciting prospect for me, especially considering the frequent flyer reciprocity that Etihad and Air France KLM just announced. Anyway, I desperately wanted to fly in the A380 apartments, their first class. Based on my valuations, tickets were available in cash and points for around the same amount, so I went for a reasonable cash fare. Originally, I was supposed to be in London for a night, then go straight back to Saigon. But then, Virgin Voyages announced more cruises that were bookable with points, and well, a full trip began to form. For the first leg in this video, I'll be in business class with my next trip report showing the first class experience. But let's not discount this first flight. It is clear that things are changing quite rapidly at Etihad. If you would allow me to oversimplify, Etihad is in phase 4 of its existence, which began in November of 2003, following their first flights to Beirut. Phase 1 was the establishment of Etihad and the UAE selling its investment in Gulf Air. Growth and massive aircraft orders followed. As I continue, let's head to the gate. It's a little bit of a walk. Phase 2 was Etihad's heyday, let's say around 2010 to 2015. They began flying the A380s, they were investing in airlines galore, they debuted what was at the time a revolutionary seat, the same one you're going to see today, and generally they were seen almost as a peer of Emirates. Phase 3 was the next 5 years. Realization of how dumb their investment strategy was, watching the airlines they invested in go bankrupt one after another. They scaled back quickly, restructured their aircraft orders, canceling 63 wide bodies, and left quite a few prominent markets behind with the goal of making money as a regional, not a global player. Then there's Phase 4. I suppose it started as COVID did, but it hit its stride as the world began to reopen. 2022 saw record-breaking profits for Etihad. Around that time, they launched a new business class seat introduced on their A350s, with another one recently announced coming to their 787s, a pretty stylish one at that. Their very long-delayed midfield terminal in Abu Dhabi is finally open as of now, and they are expanding again, quite significantly. Recently, they also launched a new soft product offering with Armani Casa in partnership. All things are pointing to quite the rebirth of Etihad. So that's what brought us here today. I have 2 other Etihad videos on the channel already. Both of those flights were okay, but cost-cutting measures were apparent. The crew were a bit robotic. Today, it really could not have been further from that. Alright, let's get through the gate and get on board. These windows are the one thing that I honestly cannot stand about this airport. There is never not a reflection. Let's take a look at today's flight stats. Stepping on board, I was very warmly welcomed by the purser, who set the tone for the crew of the entire flight. Here's your friendly reminder to click that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family. Those are truly the easiest ways, all free for you, to help the channel grow. If you'd like to support me further, my Patreon is linked in the description below. Thanks very much in advance. Here's my seat for today, 8 Alpha. Contrary to Qatar Airways Q suites, the real window suites on Etihad are forward-facing, whereas the seats closer to the aisle are rear-facing. I do have to say, while this seat is definitely not perfect, its design has aged pretty well. Let's take a closer look at the cabin. The business class cabin on the Dash 10s have 32 seats in a 1-2-1 pattern, spread across 8 rows. This is 1 row more than the 787-9s. The design of the seats really does take advantage of every single usable square inch with the forward and rear-facing seats. If you ask me, you're looking at what the original design inspiration for Q suites was. Just my opinion. The bed width and the height of the foot cubby are a little bit on the tight size, but the one thing that I really cannot stand about this seat is how shallow the seat bottom itself is. Carved on the edge to give you a bit more space when entering the seat, this is the shallowest business class seat that I've ever sat in. Let's take a closer look at all of the design details, most of which are pretty favorable. One other problem with the seat depth is that there's no raisable footrest. This means that no matter what, that seat cushion isn't getting any bigger. I'd guess that around 87% of business class passengers on this aircraft leave the plane with numb butts. Lastly, about the seat bottom. When you recline this seat into full flat mode, don't do it while you're in the seat. Trust me. It feels like you're descending into a narrow coal mine. Since there's no leg rest, that means that the front edge of this very shallow seat cushion is going to have to meet the edge of the foot cubby. Otherwise, the seat is well designed. Well, the seat is pretty. Today, we were also featuring all of the new Armani Casa items, which for the most part are an improvement, with one exception that I'll get to later on. Pre-departure drinks were served one by one. I went with the Duval Leroy Champagne, if for no other reason than to admire the new stemware. Each seat also had an amenity kit, headphones, and a bottle of water at it upon boarding. Crap, I'm sorry, I thought I was done complaining about the seat, but I forgot one more thing. This is one of those balloon seats, which inflates and deflates to control the firmness. What I don't like about them is that they often start adjusting on their own for some reason. If you head down to the description, you'll find my next 5 videos to come out, as well as other bits and pieces like the soundtrack titles featured in this video. On your way down there, don't forget to subscribe. I release full-length videos every Thursday and Saturday. Hot towels and menus were handed out as we pushed back. Originally, when looking at the menu, I thought it looked a bit limited compared to my last flight from the region. But when home writing this now, I'm realizing that that other flight was from Jakarta, which is a full 2 hours further. On this flight, it was an a la carte service per Etihad standard, but it's intended to be one meal. On the longer Jakarta service, it was one full meal plus some other hot options like sandwiches and things like that. The Traveler's Prayer and safety video were played, and honestly, the only mildly interesting sight while taxiing was this Gulf Air. Still to this day, the worst flight of my life, linked above and below. Alright, let's get going. The spool up, takeoff, and airport stats are coming up next. As we admire the beautiful new service pieces that were promptly brought out after takeoff and check out the no-nonsense Wi-Fi pricing, let me tell you two things. First, this was easily the best Etihad crew that I've ever had. They were just very personable, chatty, and present, but considering that we were eating at like 3:30 in the morning, they also knew when it was time and important to just not be seen. This was one of those flights where you could see just how much the purser was at the center of the great service overall. He was actively serving the entire time, very warm, and service was wonderfully efficient. Speaking of warm though, it was crazy hot on board until a good 30 to 40 minutes after takeoff. The lower temperature of 83 was around my seat, whereas the 89 degrees was closer to the foot cubby. So, now that we're boiling, let's take a look at all the blankets. First up is the only actual fail of all of the Armani Casa stuff, the blanket itself. I'm not a fan for two reasons. First, nothing will ever compare to the previous Etihad blanket. They were my favorite blanket in any business class ever. You'll see one in my next A380 video. Second, these new Armani blankets, while soft and plush, were already pilling and just maybe felt like they weren't going to be lasting all that long. The pillow is great though, nice and fluffy and the perfect size, as in, the size and shape of an actual pillow. One massive improvement for Etihad though is the reintroduction of seat covers. Their new one is cleverly designed and looks like a pillow when it's rolled up, but when you unfold it, the colorful part would be slipped over the top of the seat back, and then the rest just lays down wonderfully. Probably the best new design comfort item that I've seen in quite a long time, and very user-friendly. Next up, the amenity kit, which is a bit sparse, but I suppose the Aqua de Parma-ness of it all makes up for that. Headphones are just standard issue noise cancellation. They're fine. While I'm here, I forgot to mention, I love these tables. They're a bit weird, sliding out from the wall in front of you, but they're just big and chunky and sturdy as a rock. And they can move forward and back as well, so you can escape during meal service. Speaking of which, here's the full menu for today's flight. Note that the red prices are my addition to the graphic to give you an idea of the wine value on board. None of the main dishes were really calling my name, so I ended up choosing 2 of the starters plus a dessert. It's kind of ironic since I feel like all I do is complain about shrimp appetizers on Singapore Airlines, but then I order them on every other airline. But honestly, if SQ served up shrimp this good, I would never complain. This spicy Thai prawn salad was incredibly delicious. Light, bright, perfectly acidic, and really well cooked. And let's admire the new serviceware as well. The majority of it I absolutely loved, especially anything glass or ceramic. The only 2 bits that I wasn't a fan of were the salt and pepper vessel. Now, offering freshly cracked pepper and flaky salt I think is absolutely brilliant, and I wish more airlines would do it. But this container is just cheap plastic, and it's so small that I could barely get my thumbs in there. The other thing I'm not really a fan of was the tray itself. I know they need anti-slip coating, but this takes that to a whole totally different level. I really don't know how to explain it, but it grips your glassware much faster and firmer than you would expect, which led to me spilling an iced Americano all over myself just before landing. Overall, a massive improvement with Armani Casa. On to my next course, which was Arabic meze, and while standard fare, it was all delicious and presented nicely. For dessert, I had the banana cake with warm vanilla sauce, along with what the menu described as Häagen-Dazs ice cream, but in retrospect, I'm not too sure about that. As for entertainment on board, the selection of movies is doable, but it's not that extensive. But when you combine that to the live TV available, other TV shows as well, and reasonably priced Wi-Fi plans that actually work, I'd say overall it's a decent system. Easy to use as well. The bathroom is overall very good, but a little bit of a mixed bag. It's great overall because it has a window and the triple touchlessness. But it's always struck me as odd that Etihad never has premium products, or any kind of branded product in the bathroom. But at least they were kept very clean. Last up, we have the bed in fully flat mode. You can see it is certainly long enough, but it's going to feel claustrophobic to some passengers, in part due to the ledge that runs the length of the cabin near the wall. You can see my Go kit is hiding in there right now. That ledge eats up around 3 or 4 inches on either side of the cabin. As for business class seat covers, this really is one of the better ones out there now. Okay, these shorter flights to the Middle East really do pass by pretty quickly, especially with a bit of a nap. So it's already time to get on the ground. Enjoy the final descent and views as we come into land, including of the beautiful new midfield terminal. And so, that is that. Before stepping off the aircraft, I wasn't really sure what to expect since I didn't know the current state of Etihad's first class ground program. The passenger in front of me was picked up by a pair of staff who escorted her off to a buggy, taking her straight to the lounge. I thought, maybe they forgot about me? But that was not true. Turns out, she was in the residence. So okay, first class means you need to use your own 2 feet. Overall, This was a wonderful flight and I think a good preview of what's to come from Etihad. While my complaints about the seat itself hold true, it's good to see that Etihad is now actively planning to replace all of their 787 seats. So soon enough, it will be an all-around fantastic product. If they keep up the great service, with the new midfield terminal open now, I suspect that there's some pretty great things in Etihad's future. I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button with notifications on so you don't miss out on any of my twice weekly content. I upload full-length videos every Thursday and Saturday. I'll see you next time from the Pullman Resort in Phu Quoc, Vietnam. Oh, and thanks for watching until the end.